Welcome to this mantra breathe. And the theme this week is gliding into grace and our version of grace.
Okay, well, the dictionary says grace is freely given unmerited favor and love from God. And the Course in Miracles says grace is the acceptance of the love of God. And by grace alone, hate and fear are gone. And His grace is the answer. God's grace is the answer to all our despair. His grace is yours. And you can be healed by the grace of God. But you have to be forgiving. So by grace, you are released. And miracles are from grace. So I'm going to do a prayer here called Divine Grace for you guys. And then Markus will talk some more about this subject. And this is from a prayer book I have on Divine Mother Healing. And I really like this page. It's called Divine Grace. So I want you to start breathing now while I'm reading this. And breathe into the heart. Breathe into the heart while I'm reading this. The wholeness of divine grace is completely filling my energy field now. Divine grace is pouring into my energy field now, filling every place in my multi-level energy system with the presence of divine grace. Divine grace is opening more grace in my energy system, completely immersing me in the presence of divine grace. I accept divine grace within me now on every level of my life expression. Divine grace is permeating, penetrating, and saturating my energy field with the holy presence of divine grace. Imagine this happening for you. Divine grace is opening within every particle, atom, molecule, cell, place, and space within my entire energy field now. More and more wholeness of divine grace is filling me again and again. Wholeness of divine grace is pouring more divine grace into me now. I am lifted, open, cleansed, and freed in the wholeness of divine grace. Divine grace is opening again and again into me and into all areas of my life and gracing my energy field, my entire energy field. It's so soothing. Divine grace is bathing me on all levels of my life expression. Divine grace is renewing and sustaining me in a life blessed with divine grace. My life is blessed with divine grace. I'm living in divine grace as I move through my life. I am lifted, opened, and cleansed and freed in divine grace. You know, divine grace is beyond all reason and logic. You know, it's grace when something wonderful happens for you that you don't understand. Divine grace made that happen. I am living in divine grace as I move through my life. I am lifted, opened, cleansed, and freed in divine grace. Divine grace is opening again and again within me now and gracing my entire existence. My life is now operating under the law of divine grace. I am now opening into wholeness, moving in grace. Opening into wholeness, moving into grace. It says grace is using deeper set of laws that are not understood by the linear thinking mind. There's no explanation for grace other than the divine hand at work. The law of divine grace is the guarantee that you are always supported by the universe. That support takes the form of giving you your highest good in every situation. Living under the law of divine grace allows you to live innocently without fear. When you live under the law of divine grace, you live in the oneness of all life, where you are aware that everything in existence serves you and supports you. And as you grow in grace, life becomes gentler, easier, and smoother. The universe supports you at all times. It reveals the majesty of the Divine Mother in an intimate, personal relationship with you. If you ever find yourself in a situation that feels overwhelming and you don't know how to get through it, think about divine grace. It opens you to all the divine possibilities. It's grace when something wonderful happens that you don't understand. Divine grace makes it happen. It surprises your mind and your intellect, and it's the universe generously supporting you. It's nice to think about divine grace. It's nice to think about the surprise of it, that by grace we are blessed and we don't even understand it. Simply saying grace, grace, grace in any situation will help you let go. And using divine grace as a tool will help you be empowered and embraced by the Divine Mother. And it helps you, really to trust life and to trust the goodness of life. It's something beyond reason. It's a vibrational frequency that makes life glow. It creates a special sheen in your heart and soul. It's a spiritual quality that cannot be described because it's very sublime. With divine grace, sublime energy takes over, allowing your life to be conducted under a new set of laws. It allows beauty and wisdom to infuse you. It gives you divine wisdom. It's natural. And it allows you to live innocently without fear.
Keep breathing into grace. Take a breath. Feel the flow of your breath. I wrote this in a book a couple of years ago called The Sanctuary of Silence. And this is from a chapter, number 12, Receiving Grace. Grace as I see it. Grace is a state of being in which all the good things of life flow to us effortlessly, meeting our needs and providing us with all the possibilities and opportunities for us to make our unique contribution. Grace is the great arranger that optimizes the best use of our talents and time, giving resilience and course adjustments that need to happen. Not always when we are aware they are beneficial. Grace lines things up. I like that line. Grace lines things up. It puts the right people in the right place for us to meet and grow. We came to Qatar to work here in Doha, and we knew our organizers a little bit. They had been on our India quest, but we weren't prepared for how much grace we would receive being here and from them. And it's a couple, Miriam and Ali, and they handled our schedule and many things for us while we were here, and things went so well and everything was just flowing. And I think for us, it felt like we were in this flow of divine grace working with them. Grace is the blanket of gratitude that covers us when we're willing to give thanks for everything in life that supports and enhances our well-being. Grace is the clarity to see the bigger picture. Grace is the clarity to see our life purpose. Grace is the flow of support that aids us in our mission, even when we're not totally certain of what that mission is and how it will be accomplished. Grace is the ability to appreciate the failures as well as the successes, and see that the lessons learned in correcting our failures may be far greater than playing it safe with the predictable. Grace is going for something that feels unattainable, but reaching for it anyway. Grace is invoking the higher order of things to take over our life and take us in the directions we need to go to realize our greatest potentials. Grace is the one force that will guarantee happiness in a world that seems to contain so many variables and blocks to happiness. Grace is the life force that arranges things to happen so we can fulfill our individual destiny in this lifetime. These were just a few thoughts I wrote down about grace in this book. But there are deeper realizations that this favorable force will unfold for us if we're willing to listen. Now, when I say willing to listen, sometimes you just have to be in a meditation or in a silent place where you're asking for grace. You're expressing gratitude and you're asking for direction. You're asking for solution. You're asking for your will to be made one with God's will. That would be an invocation of grace. Grace is the prevailing condition in which we are meant to live. This would be free of all struggle and strife. The peace of God surrounds us, and we don't use a lot of effort to achieve our goals. We're free of struggle. We invoke cosmic forces to help us when we need help. This would be the grace that God bestows on us. There's two very important lessons in the Course in Miracles. It's lesson 168 and 169. 168 is, your grace is given me, I claim it now. And 169 is, by grace I live, by grace I am released. Now, I think Sondra mentioned that one of the qualities of grace is you've forgiven everybody. You can't hold grievances and expect to be in a state of grace. You can't have judgments against others and maintain a state of grace. So you have to be in a forgiven world for this grace to be your truth. The love of God for his Son would have to be recognized by us first if the dawn of grace is to enter our life. We have to start somewhere. Could we consider there's a benevolent life force that always wants the best for us, with the least amount of effort and conflict? This would be the start of a new beginning of grace. So this is a quote from lesson 168. If you but knew the meaning of his love, hope and despair would be impossible, for hope would be forever satisfied and despair of any kind unthinkable. His grace, his answer, is to all despair, for in it lies remembrance of his love. Would he not gladly give the means by which his will is recognized? His grace is yours by your acknowledgement, and memory of him awakens in the mind that asks the means of him whereby its sleep is done. That's from lesson 168. Your grace is given me, I claim it now. Are we ready to wake up? We do it through receiving and giving grace. Thanksgiving and gratitude are the natural elements of grace. Forgiveness is the gift we give ourselves and others. It's the great cleanser of our turbulent minds. It said in this passage, despair of any kind is unthinkable, and hope is forever satisfied. The memory of God is simply the remembrance of grace. I think it's good we're talking about grace because in the United States they have this day called Thanksgiving, which is coming up on Thursday, and Judith said it's her 80th birthday. So let's send Judith some blessings for her birthday, some energy to help her through her health trials. We can all breathe for Judith and Jake, the little guy. The memory of God is simply the remembrance of grace. We can have it. We can claim it. Grace is here now. What are we waiting for to step into it and accept there are greater forces than our own plans that move our lives in directions that are ultimately good for us? What are we waiting for? Glide into grace now. There's a receptivity into which we enter through complete forgiveness. You know, there's a lesson that says, let my forgiveness be complete and let the memory of you return to me. It's like we'll remember God when our forgiveness is complete. We don't hold any grievances toward anyone. I let forgiveness rest upon all things, for thus forgiveness will be given me. We hardly understand this state because it cannot be understood with the usual logic we're accustomed to. Forgiveness is the homework we do to prepare for receiving grace. To receive grace requires a melding with the higher forces, something beyond our own efforts and attempts to accomplish. Grace is given from beyond our thought. It's realized in the sanctuary of silence. And this is another passage from lesson 169 now. Oneness is simply the idea God is, and in his being, he encompasses all things. No mind holds anything but him. We say God is, and then we cease to speak, for in that knowledge, words are meaningless. There are no lips to speak them, and no part of mind sufficiently distinct to feel that it is now aware of something not itself. It has united with its source, and like its source itself, it merely is. We cannot speak, nor write, nor even think of this at all. It comes to every mind when total recognition that its will is God's has been completely given and received completely. It returns the mind into the endless present where the past and future cannot be conceived. It lies beyond salvation, past all thought of time, forgiveness, and the holy face of Christ. The Son of God has merely disappeared into his Father, and his Father has in him. The world has never been at all, and eternity remains a constant state. Well, those are pretty lofty words. We would need grace to realize the truth of them. There are beings like Babaji and Amaji and Jesus of A Course in Miracles who have realized them. It's our potential to realize them. We just have to decide, are we going to be one of them? Is that important to us? To manifest and live by grace. Can we allow our words to be the words of the Course in Miracles and our truth? Love is attainable in the present. In fact, it abides only in the present. Grace is in the present. We are in the present. When it comes to love, love is joy, love is peace, love is stillness, certainty, safety, freedom. Realization of love is our divine purpose here. It's also our power. This realization of love invokes grace. This state of being is without words. It may use words, but the source of its expression does not arise from words. Its source is in silence, and this is the sanctuary of silence beyond the words. There are words that are miraculous because they have the grace of the source behind them. They are actual and direct. And when we can be as direct as these words of grace and the energy they impart, then we're transformed. This requires a certain degree of reverence. Without this reverence, it's hard to make contact with the actual grace. But with this reverence, we can make a deeper contact with it. We bring our words into application. Our own thought chatter stops. A holy relationship comes into being. The words of A Course in Miracles silence our ego's words. We end our thinking. We come to peace and perfect happiness within. And this is a state of grace. And I'll end on this couple of passages. Now we ask for grace, the final gift salvation can bestow. Experience that grace provides will end in time, for grace foreshadows heaven, yet does not replace the thought of time, but for a little while. The interval suffices. It is here that miracles are laid, to be returned by you from holy instance you receive through grace in your experience to all who see the light that lingers in your face. What is the face of Christ but his who went a moment into timelessness and brought a clear reflection of the unity he felt an instant back to bless the world? We go for a little while into this graciousness beyond our thought. Why not? It's a greater world than we've witnessed through our past. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. This is the grace. We can claim it. It's free of thought. We speak, God is, and then we cease to speak. In that silence is the grace. In this silence, we will receive grace. Keep breathing. And now the grace is coming in the form of the mantras. You know, Sondra and I are so grateful to have these mantras to kind of pick us up when we need to be energized, bring us to inner peace, where we can receive the grace. So I'm going to put the mantras on. We're going to play Ocean of Devotion this week. So here we go.